Hello and welcome, little scientists, to this week's episode of Stay at Home Science, brought to you by the South Brunswick Public Library. I'm Allyee, and today we'll be trying out the tinfoil boat experiment. Will it sink or will it float? Let's find out. Let's start by gathering our ingredients. We'll be needing a bowl or container filled with about 3/4 of the way with water. You can also use your sink or your bathtub, depending on how big or small you want to make your boats. I did a drop of food dye in mine, so you're able to see it a little better, but that's optional. You'll also need some aluminum foil and some small, similarly sized items like pennies, or I'm using flat marbles. This is what we're going to use to weigh down our boats to see how strong they are. You'll also need a ruler, some tape, and some scissors. And as always, don't forget to grab a grown-up. To get started, you're going to ask the grown-up to help you cut evenly sized pieces of aluminum foil. I suggest around 6 inches by 6 inches is okay, but whatever measurement you choose, just make sure that they're even. So once you have your 2 pieces of aluminum foil, make sure they're as even as they can be. You're going to take your first one and you're going to grab around 5 marbles. Or if you're using pennies, about 10 pennies. 3, 4, 5. You're going to put them right in the middle, and then you're going to crunch this up and fold it until there's no air left into a tight little ball. Next, we're going to take our second piece of aluminum foil, and this is going to be the piece you make into your boat. So you can do any kind of shape or design you want. You can just make a simple square one, a circle one, or kind of a canoe shape, whatever you'd like. Get creative. And you can use the tape to secure it if needed. If you think you need more aluminum foil, you can use a bigger piece. Just make sure that it's even to the one that you made into a ball. Make sure there are no leaks in the boat and that it has a flat bottom. Alright, so I've got my boat, and I've got my ball, and you're going to put 5 marbles evenly spaced out onto the boat. One there, in the corner, and there. Or if you're using pennies, 10 pennies. Just make sure you're putting the same amount of weight into each one. So in our ball we have our 5 marbles, and in our boat we have our 5 marbles. So next, we are going to get our tub of water, or whatever water vessel you're using, like a sink or a bowl, and we're going to drop these at the same time. Before we add them to the water, I'm going to ask you, little scientists, a question. What do you think is going to happen? Will they both float? Will they both sink? Will one sink and one float? What do you think? Alright, let's try it out. So try to add them at the same time, and let's see. Alright, so did your prediction come true? Let us know in the comments on our Facebook page. We can see that our boat with our 5 marbles is floating, but our ball, which has the same amount of marbles and is made with the same amount of material, sank. Why do you think that is? Well, there's a few things happening. First, gravity is pulling things downward, but liquids and fluids have a force that pushes upwards against gravity. We learned it in our last experiment. Do you remember what it's called? It's called buoyancy. When we add things to water, we're actually displacing the water, essentially moving it out of the way so that we can add our object. The force of buoyancy is the weight of the object displaced by the boat. This is what helps to make it float. Think about it like this. The ball has a lot less room for that upward force to have it float on top. But the boat, because it has a larger surface area, has more room for that upwards force to take place. What's also working here is density, which we've seen in a lot of our past experiments. Remember, density is how much space an object or substance takes up, its volume, in relation to how much matter is in that substance or object, its mass. Objects can relate differently in water based on their density, which we see here. Your foil boat has more density because the weight that you use, whether you use marbles or pennies, are all crammed up into one space. Your foil boat, while has the same weight, it has less density because you're able to evenly distribute that weight, and you're also able to give it lots of air. Things float when they have less density than water and sink when they have more density than water. Now that we know the science behind why this works, let's see how many marbles it takes to make our boat sink. So we have our ball, which has 5 marbles. What do you little scientists think? Do you think if I add it that it'll sink the boat? Let's see. It did! Why do you think that is? Knowing the science, it's probably because all that weight was distributed into one area. Let's try it again. And this time, instead of just putting all of the weight into one area, I'm going to see if evenly distributing 10 marbles instead of adding them into a clump is going to help. So we've got our boat and it floats. Good. I'm going to grab 5 marbles. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's still floating. I'm going to grab 5 more, but I'm going to space them out. So do you think that's going to help? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this time our boat is still floating. That's kind of cool. All right, let's see how many marbles it takes to sink ours. It's definitely slowly sinking. I can see that the water's getting close to the edge. There it goes! So I tallied up my marbles, and we actually used 29 marbles to sink our boat. That's a lot of weight. I challenge you little scientists to continue the fun and reshape your boat. See what shape is going to hold the most weight. You can try this out with family members and friends to see whose boat is going to hold the most. Let us know how many marbles or pennies it takes to sink your boat. Alright little scientists, thanks so much for watching this episode of Stay at Home Science. I hope you try out our tinfoil boat experiment and you take the challenge to see what shape boat you can make that will hold the most weight. If you do, please let us know by tagging us on social media, commenting on this video on Facebook, or sending it to my email. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow us on our social media to get more fun content and updates. Until next time, bye!